Going live a minute or two early, 2 minutes early. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I'm getting a notice from YouTube that it's not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream, so we'll see what happens. But first, hello to all. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, the author of the Ask Dave column in QST, and the one who puts together the Ask Dave channel on YouTube, of which the live stream is a part. We have 2 or 3 videos a week, and we try to have some of those in response to specific questions. If you'd like to ask a question, send it to AskDave, all one word, at ARRL.org, not .net, .org. Okay, and we've got quite a few people jumping in already. It says from Terence in London, 2 Echo 0 India Papa Kilo. Hi Dave from London, 17C, not bad here. And we've had very mild weather today. It's just 72 outside right now. Roswell Chuck, hello Dave from Roswell, Georgia. Hello. Bill Myers, KE0OG, good evening, Dave, and all Augies. Anthony Becerra, hi, Dave. Tom Wold, hello from Sacramento, California. Sacramento's an interesting city. The Transcontinental Railroad actually terminated in Sacramento. And you go, why stop 50 miles shy of the Pacific Ocean? Well, actually, they didn't. Sacramento, even though it's inland California, is a port city. The Central Valley there, I don't know, I grew up calling it the San Joaquin Valley, which is the southern half, and the northern half was the Sacramento Valley. But it was in all the geography books as Central Valley, and I guess it's called that a lot more now. Anyway, what happens is that area is so low that Sacramento is barely above sea level. And yes, that does mean it floods there quite a bit. For those who don't know, there used to be a large, shallow fresh water, and I put that in quotes, meaning it wasn't seawater, called Tulare Lake. And when all the rains came, they had no place to put the water, so they let Tulare Lake fill up again. And now it's going down. I guess the sediment that the water drops there is good for the soil, but it was drained to make for more farmland, and they've got everything in place to drain it, but if they need to, they can stop it right there so it doesn't flood everything downstream. Anyway, it's very interesting area. Sacramento, I've been there. I was in a college singing group that went on tour in California, and I was the photographer, so I'm the only one not in all the photographs. But we actually did a little bit of a show right on the steps of Capitol Hill there. Capitol Hill, yeah, Capitol Hill, about 5 feet high, maybe 5 feet. That's the hill. Okay, Let's see. Glenn Martin. Hello from far west Missouri, 78 degrees, 47% relative humidity. That's not too bad. Bill Myers, KE0OG, 62 degrees in Bruce, Wisconsin. Yeah, it's starting to be showing some early signs of fall here. Some of the trees around here will have like a branch somewhere with the leaves yellow. Everything else is green. It's still technically green here, but and it's going to be warm this coming week, quite warm. So warm fronts coming through. It should clear the skies, and although our skies are not very foggy right now, we still have trouble with the smoke from California. I guess that's what's burning. There are fires other places too. Okay. Roswell Chuck says you're good. Brooks Barrow, hi Dave, Glenn Martin, and Zero QFT. Anthony Becerra, stream is fine here. London 1965-7, 71 Fahrenheit here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And Von Ziegel has added $20 to the chat revenue and says, thanks for being you. Well, thank you very much. I really am relying on patrons and channel members and so on to keep the channel alive and going and trying to bring you this type of Ask Dave information. I am guided by the questions I get. It's interesting, really. 90% of the questions are about either antennas or grounding. And of that, 75% is antennas. So I'm having to dig out the books and look at new antennas. I had a new one on me today that I talked about this morning. This guy does not have room for a phased array of 3 verticals in it's spaced a certain distance apart. You want to know if he could bring them in, and my response to him was, then you won't get the phasing that you want if you do that. But it is possible to put up, you can build a quote like Yagi sort of thingy with verticals. It can be done. You're going to need radials everywhere, but it can be done. Okay, Von Ziegel, thank you very much. Tom Salter, howdy from Central Alabama, KS4TOM, trying to learn CW. Prayers welcome. CW, there's only one way to learn it, and that's perseverance. I mean, it's tough. You've got to rewire the brain cells in here, create new, I call it new pathways in the brain. And that's a lot easier when you're young. And when you get up to my age, I can hardly learn anything new. But we try. G4FON. Let me put this up on the screen here and see what I can find. I'm going to bring up a new screen. G4FON. Morse trainer. Okay, this is a Morse trainer using the Koch method. It also uses the Farnsworth method. And CW Trainer 2, version 10. Okay, what this does is it does everything to help you learn the code. You can start with, and it will pick the letters, but 2 letters. Okay, and then it will grow your knowledge in a very methodical way. And then if you want, you can have it send QSOs or just words or out of a text file or random, okay? And it can actually add noise to the thing. So you can do all kinds of things to make the code more realistic, okay? And this has been, in my opinion, the best computer-based Morse tool that will help you both, I think, learn. I don't know if it will help you send, but it will teach you to learn. You're going to need to send anyway, and the video that went up, let's see, studio. Go away there. This one right here, oh, it's not been made yet. Okay. Tegan will be here on Saturday and make that one. It's an introduction to a little code practice oscillator that actually works for paddles too. So you can use, let's go back to that and go back to that. You can use paddles, and I put them away so I don't have them here. So you're not only training with a straight key, everybody starts with a straight key till you get up to about 15 words a minute, and then it's time to start transitioning to a paddle and a keyer. All radios these days come with keyers. So you can plug the paddle directly into the back of the radio and it will make the dits and das, or you can plug in a straight key. Now you're going to have to tell the radio that it's a straight key. There are some settings. They're very easy. Just find the CW setting. Go to CW mode. If you've got a 7300, go to CW mode and then hit menu, and it'll give you some options. One of which is to use the paddle. Now, if you're going to send code in with an iambic paddle and your keyer, there are three ways of doing it: iambic A, iambic B, and, are you ready for this? Ultimatic. The Ultimatic is named after a keyer that achieved a little bit of popularity while not obeying the rules of either iambic A or iambic B. There are slight differences between iambic A and iambic B, namely what it does with extra dots at the end. If you, I think, want to go along with most people, you'll use iambic B. So just make a note of that. Iambic B. All keyers will do iambic B. And it's just, I find it a lot easier because that's probably the way I learned. I learned to send paddle code with a Heathkit keyer that I actually bought and made. Back then, radios just had a place to plug in for a straight key. So if you wanted to use the paddles, you could do it with a separate keyer. The zenith of that was the MFJ Grandmaster keyer, which would do all kinds of things. There's some contests. One of the things you have to send is your QSO number, and it advances by 1 with every QSO that you have. This thing will actually keep track of that for you. And you spend the contest not pushing the paddle side by side, but by pushing buttons in the right order so that they will send all the different things that you need. So everybody will get there eventually. Now, another thing that I will say about Morse code is that the best way to learn to receive slow code is to get on the air. There is an organization called SKCC, the Straight Key Century Club. This right here is a straight key. Press down, it sounds. Let up, it doesn't. Now, actually, there's a reason why the knob is shaped this way. You're supposed to actually, a thumb, the middle finger, and then you're keying with all of them. Ideally, you're pushing down and pulling it up in a controlled way, but whatever works for you. Every operator sends differently with a straight key because it is entirely manually controlled. The collection of all the attributes of your code, whether you tend to make your DAs a little bit too long or your DITs a little bit too short or whatever, sum up to something called your fist. And in World War II, the British intercept operators could recognize individual operators by their fist. And one of the things that they did back during those days was if an operator disappeared from a certain area and reappeared in a different area over here, it was a pretty good indication that his unit had been transferred. And that's what's called traffic analysis. Just looking at the traffic, looking at the externals on the thing, who's talking to whom, who seems to be the headquarters, who seems to be the cannon fodder, all of this kind of stuff like that is traffic analysis. Anyway, yes, keep at it daily, not more than 15 to 20 minutes a day. As you get up to about 5 words per minute, you can go ahead and get on the air. I talked about SKCC, the Straight Key Century Club. You can even get a membership number. It's, I don't know if it's completely free or very nearly free, but they publish newsletters. They have on-the-air get-togethers. They have a slow code area, and people have to send either with a straight key or with a vibroplex-like keyer. That's not a keyer, that's key. But anyway, around 7050 on the 40-meter band and 7110 on the 40-meter band are two areas for slow code. These are people who don't know it any better than you, but when you're actually talking to someone on the radio, you start to get the hang of listening to somebody else, because somebody else is not going to send like you. They're going to send differently. So you end up getting to know people because it's the same people who keep coming back and building their speed. I had a friend when I was a novice. I had 5 words per minute code privileges, and my code wasn't a whole lot faster than that. And I found a guy across town and he and I became very good friends. Whenever he transmitted, it completely captured my Heathkit HW16. And so I figured it was better to get to know him than try to get around him. But we started sending pages of QST to each other every night. And between the two of us, we got our speed up to 18 words per minute. And then the two of us together went down to the FCC in Los Angeles and sat our general tests, and we both passed. We were both generals. So that's how we did it. I mean, we just got on the air. Notice I said on the air, meaning sending CW to each other. Now, if you're still a technician, you do have the privileges of HFCW, but if you don't have a radio for it, wait until you pass your general. You can get 2 meters and hold the microphone next to the code practice oscillator. That's perfectly legal. And get yourself on some simplex channel way off nobody uses. And of course, a club can teach CW over the club's repeater if you want. Then you can listen to it, and you can also take turns transmitting. The thing that you have to, that's really hard to avoid, almost impossible to avoid, is just picking up the microphone and said, I meant to send volcano, not Kiptiquap. You know, so you want to avoid that because a real channel, you don't have that ability. One of the common terms that you hear on CW on the air is 8 dits in a row, which signals error. Okay, so everybody does that. I do it on a keyer. With a keyer, you just push the left button in for long enough to put a bunch of dits out there. Okay, so good luck. And Tom, our prayers and thoughts will be with you. 40 meters in the evenings. QST, I'm sorry, ARRL has code practice on the air, and they start slow and work up. Sometimes they'll do it at 5 and go up. Other times they'll do it at 15 and go up. Okay. Baseman Jr. 100 says, hello from Bell Buckle, Tennessee. And Von Ziegel says, Don N6CD, thank you for helping me out with the funding. By the way, there are memberships available for this channel if you would like to do that. There's also, if you go to, let's just do it, screen. If you go to Casler/support, if it's still there, there it is. Okay, you've got a one-time tip jar. You do it through PayPal. You do not have to be a member of PayPal. They'll take any credit card. A monthly subscription can be had for $5, $10, $20. Mostly it's the $5 one people pick. There are a few 10s and no 20s. And then there's Patreon, which is what I actually recommend. You can become a member of Patreon and become a patron. And if you want, I have, once every 2 years, somebody will just send me something direct. Also, I have a bunch of links that I'll make. If I'm reviewing something, I'll make a special link for it on Amazon. It takes you to Amazon, and it remembers that it was a link from me. So you pay the ordinary price for it, but I get a small kickback. So those are all the different ways that you can become, that you can support the channel. I used to get a lot of one-time tips, not anymore, maybe 1 or 2 a month, but I get a lot of Patreon. I've got about 250 active patrons and about 40 people on the subscription thing. So anyway, that's a thing to do if you would like to support the channel. So let's go back to the normal view here. I did send a note out to all the patrons today. One of the things I can do with patrons and with channel membership is to send previews of upcoming videos. We're going to be slowing the videos down. I used to do one a week, and then when the pandemic came, I said, I'm going to give you something about amateur radio every day so that the pandemic isn't the only thing you hear about. And I went up to Deley, and I'm back down to 3 a week, and we're going to move to 2 a week and probably stay there for quite a while. I'm getting older, so what I would like to do is type out a script. I do these off the cuff, and that's not nearly as good as if I have a script, because if I have a script, I can revise the script, reread it, try it several times. And I have right here this weird looking thing. I set the iPad right here, and this is a piece of partially silvered glass, and so I can see what's on the iPad while I'm looking directly into the camera. This is what that camera looks like. So if I'm looking right into here, this is where the words appear, and so it appears I'm talking directly to you. I like that a lot better. The problem is that the problem with that is that I've got to write a script, and I'm just not, my fingers don't work well enough to do a lot of typing anymore. So I'm going to have to get around that somehow. You know, I can dictate a rough script, and then we can go from there, getting something better. Because I would like each and every video to be professionally done, okay, and my points made with appropriate visuals as backups, with you know, something that I've reviewed and that I've gotten the question marks out of. For example, I was given at Dayton an antenna, sort of a tactical antenna. And yesterday, Tegan and I put it out on the porch and tried it. And I tried to get a nice SWR chart for it. But the problem was that my nano VNA had gone off in the Never Never Land. And so I couldn't get a good chart for it. So we did it the old-fashioned way by going to the radio and looking in the S meter and seeing what the what the VISWAR was across the band from 80 up to 10. I think we did 6 too. And finally, today I says, I've got to fix this problem. This thing has worked before, it ought to work again. So I got the Nano VNA itself and recalibrated it. And then it started working beautifully, doing everything it was supposed to do. So I tried that out on a few different things, and things worked like they should. So since we haven't released that video yet, I need to go back in and put the Nano VNA chart in there that shows all the bands at once. So, you know, I'd like to have something where I can go, okay, we're going to test an antenna. One, let's look at the how well you can get a good SWR on each band. Will it actually tune on all the bands it says it will tune on? Second, how well does it hear? Now, right now I'm using an A/B test. I've got a antenna switch up over here, so I can go between the antenna under test and my standard antenna, which is the Step IR, big IR vertical, which is a very, very good antenna and is just got a gazillion radials on it now. I mean, it's just a hot antenna. And I can compare the two. I tried to use the RSB Duo with 2 connections. It has 2 independent receivers that can receive at the same time. Okay, and so I just set these receivers so that they are both the same band, and then you can look at the 2 antennas in real time and see which is better. The full-size vertical, by the way, was miles better, about an S unit better than this other antenna. I got a couple of things I want to try a little bit before I, give up on it. So then the other that I haven't really worked out real well is the send test. And I'm going to use the reverse beacon network. I'll send a little bit of code. If you send a test DE KE0OG, or even just test KE0OG, a bunch of antennas around the country will pick that up, and I'll get feedback over the internet about the strength of the signal. Then if I move 5 or 10 kilohertz and repeat the process, this time with the new antenna, it will say, this is a new signal, and it will do the same thing for that signal. So we can do a comparison of how the antennas are heard. I haven't quite got there yet. I really, really want to do that, and you guys are helping me. I got some really valuable feedback from a couple of you on recent videos and so on. Someone pointed out that I had talked about the power law. It says that maximum power transfers from device to device if the internal impedance of the transmitter matches the characteristic impedance of the load, and you use a transmission line of the same impedance. That is true to a point, and the point is normally that law is taught in engineering courses prior to the introduction of complex numbers and reactants. In actuality, if this has an impedance of R plus JX, then this one needs to have an impedance of R minus JX. That's called the complex conjugate of the impedance. It seems like a long name to say change the sign, but it means if this part is inductive, this part has to be capacitive, and vice versa. So I looked at that and went, you know, you're right. I didn't mention that. I did learn the power law before I was exposed to the idea of impedance matching. So I talked with an Augie who had used a nano VNA. He had a little device that they were building that had a GPS receiver in it. So it had a GPS antenna, and it had to get the signal over to a GPS receiver. It was a distance about like that, and it kind of went in a semicircle. And as it turned out, the impedances did not match. And he used the vector analyzer to determine that. And he showed me how he did all of this. He needed to make the transmission line more inductive. So instead of coming in a circle like this, it came down, stopped, went into a little loop, came back, and then continued on its way down. That added inductance to the transmission line and balanced things so that the antenna and the receiver could work properly. And that was a fascinating way of learning to use a vector network analyzer. Okay, let's get where we're not going to get to anywhere here if I keep talking about that. Okay. JT6188 worked for SP Railroad back in the 1980s. You know, they don't use railroad Morse anymore. Everything is electronic, and they use teletype if they're going to do any kind of record communication. Record communication is a military term, meaning you keep a record of it by the very nature of the communication, because it prints out on paper. But trains still depend heavily on signaling. There have been a number of accidents over the past 20, 30 years where they've recognized that there are flaws in the signaling system that they have. So what they're going to do, or what they have done in a lot of places, is apply a new method, and I forget the name of it, but it you can set the points from a distance. You can set the lights and everything, and you can also, if there is a problem train, the system can slow it down. Okay, so you can't have that situation like they had a while back in California, where they had a bunch of people from a railfan organization on a train to show them this new route they had just opened. It was a historic route, and they've now reopened it, and it hit a bend, and there was a misunderstanding in the cab, and they hit that bend way too fast. They were supposed to do it about 20, and they did it about 80. Needless to say, the train just kept going straight. And 3 people were killed, one of whom was the senior guy for the Train Watchers organization, one of the senior guys. And so it was very sad. Had they put the new system in, which they hadn't done yet, it would have forced the train to slow down. It wouldn't have let the train go into that corner too fast. So that's what they're trying to do with trains. I get so many messages from people who are absolutely sure that I'm going to vote for so-and-so. And so they would like me to confirm their poll and also, oh, put your credit card number in here. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave and all Augies, and 5 KVO from the hill country of South Texas, currently 81. Sounds pleasant. Phil, KE0OG, hello to Dave and Augies from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've always loved that name, Kalamazoo. JT 6188 is 113 degrees Fahrenheit in Phoenix. Were it not for air conditioning, the population of Phoenix would have stayed at about 500. Of course, it's millions now. It's air conditioning that makes it possible, which means that there's got to be plenty of electricity. One of the things I learned and did not know when I went out to buy my airplanes a few years ago, and we did a little bit of flight training out of Buckeye, one of the places that's over there that had a do not fly over me thing on the map was a nuclear power plant. It's actually a nuclear power plant out there right next to Phoenix. And, they got to take care of the base load. And of course, they can grow solar farms like crazy. A lot of farmers in the Midwest if you look at the country, it's green up until a few hundred miles past the Mississippi, and then it's brown till you get all the way over to the coast in the Pacific. And that line, green on one side, brown on the other, is the rain line. That's how far rains come inland. And you can do something with arable but otherwise dry land by, irrigation and stuff like that. But a lot of the farmers east of the Mississippi rely on precipitation rain for their crops to grow. And it can really play havoc. For example, if you have a field that needs to be hayed, in other words, cut and baled, you don't want it to rain while you're cutting it, drying it, baling it. Of course, over in Europe, what they have are drying sheds that will dry that because it doesn't stop raining long enough for anything like that. Phoenix has had over 100 days over 100. And wow, that's a lot. You go from air-conditioned house to air-conditioned car to air-conditioned store. And the guy was my flight instructor for the time that I was out there. He facilitated the transfer of the aircraft. He wasn't the one who sold it to me. Another 2 guys were. But at 11 o'clock at night, he had a flat tire on the freeway. And it was over 90. And so he had to wait for somebody to help him with that and deal with that sweltering heat. I had a niece's wedding in Las Vegas in the summer, so they held the reception at night. It was about 9 o'clock by the time the reception started, and it was well into the 90s. It was very hot. So it does happen. So we'll see what happens here. I've been here one winter. We had snow. It was about 3 feet deep at the back of the lot. I could tell by counting the lines on the barbed wire fence. And it was 3 feet deep. That was the minimum all winter. And the snow just kept piling and piling and piling and piling. I've only seen that once. Okay, so Tom Jack in Minnesota, 66. Just the two of us. Hello, Dave. Thanks for all you do. Greetings from Montana, W7CMA. Got a couple new people here. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you'll be notified. Now, also, you've got to tell YouTube that you will accept notifications. So, Ralph Leland, hi Dave and everyone, K4GA in Fork Union, Virginia. Larry in Manila, good morning from Manila. Just went through another super typhoon. I went through a typhoon in Manila, and my companion and I were out tracting. And when we saw a piece of roofing metal go by us horizontally, not sinking, just flying by at a constant altitude, we said, you know, we probably ought to go home. So that was rather wet. Oh, the saddest thing. Oh, it took 2 or 3 days for the water to go away. And Manila is basically at sea level. So the drainage is horrible. But there was a paper boy out there. This is the day after. He had his papers under his arm, as he usually did. He'd sell it, put the money in his pocket, give him a paper, and so on. He had dropped his papers into the water. And the kid was just in tears. And because he lost all that money. Oh, that poor kid. Anyway, I felt so bad for him. I mean, I gave him like 20 pesos, but that's nowhere near enough to cover what he had to pay for those papers. So anyway, okay, Victor Echo 3 KVR. Good evening from Toronto, Canada, 20 degrees C here. Question on upgrading my license. Do I still have to pay the fees? Yes. Been told by one ham who did and did not have to pay for the upgrade. You can, well, you'll upgrade through the VE. Okay, and the VE will charge you, of course, the testing fee, which has been $15 for many years. I don't know, maybe it's gone up. And before you do that, you have to have paid a fee to the FCC via a very weird, hard-to-use system. Talk to your VE. They will tell you whether you need to bring that and so on. And if it's an ARRL exam committee, they'll have the set of rules and can contact the people in Newington and find out the latest. But nowadays, if you do anything for your license other than something you can do purely online, like changing your address, you've got to pay this $30 fee. It says Avion on the side. And the first time it was filled, it was with their water. And then after that, I just use it as a water bottle until it starts, you know, being a little off. Toss that one, get another one. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Do I still have to pay the fees? Another thing that you can do, is I'm assuming you're an ARRL member, is you can write to them and ask them that question. Terrence, 2 Echo 0 Indy Papa Kilo. Sadly, G4FON is silent key. He's passed away. I don't know if anyone has taken over the software. The software is quite good, as Larry says here. Edvaldo Lemus, good evening from Papa Uniform 4, Echo Charlie Lima. Let me just look that up real quick here. Let's see, we're going to go to the screen. First, we're going to, we've already looked at that. Papa Uniform 4. QRZ is primarily for American and Canadian hams, but it will also, yes, okay. This is Papa Uniform 4 Echo Charlie Lima. I'm a mechanical engineer. Well, it should say where he is. Let's go to QRZ itself. .com and search for that. Okay, so we have, log in. Well, I'll log in then. Oh, he's in Brazil. Okay. And that's where they've got this spaceship on top of a, oh, you can't see it there. This spaceship on top of a tower. I assume that's a water tank. So from Brazil, I need to log in, sorry. Okay. Echo Charlie Lima. And he is in I'm not going to try and pronounce that. I don't speak Portuguese. And there's the Rio DX group. Okay. This was his summits on the air, I guess. Into the satellite very much. Okay. Oh, I remember him. Wow. He was the first ham in space. That was a long time ago. Wow. Okay. So, Edvaldo, welcome. Good to have you. Quentin Rollins, show no fear, American citizens. There's none to deal with. There's a lot of people, and I see this on the air, and unfortunately, I see it from people I know who should know better, saying the balloon's about to go up. I'm going, no. You know, these people start talking only to each other and convince themselves that the world is coming to an end. It's not. So let's see. I did too much. Okay. Larry, when I started, I recall a group saying to try sending the letters to yourself, like the word stop or a billboard sign. Yeah, I used to do that too when I was learning the code. Every time I went past a sign, I'd do it in my mind, you know, did it at D, let's see, did it at da, stop. Okay, remember to hit the like button. Yes, please. CBGMRS guy here in Southern Illinois. Thanks for posting your videos. Looking to go ham one day, please. CB is a mess, but enjoy 11-meter sideband. I'm watching your videos and hope to test one day. Well, good. I hope if you use the ARRL training book, and on the ARRL HQ YouTube, there's a playlist that has all of my videos that go section for section with the book. and will not only teach you how to pass your test, but more important, how to be a ham, things that you need to do. Tom Salter, thanks for the tutorial in CW. I'm 66 and have been a ham about 18 months and have my extra working with the CW Academy second lesson tomorrow. The CW Academy is a group of people, I think they're on Long Island in New York. And they assign one-on-one mentors to help people over the computer learn their Morse code. It's a fantastic organization. I first learned about it at Dayton when a guy from that organization sat me down and told me everything that I should know about it. And I'm really glad for it. Okay, let's see, Paul C. Hi, Dave and fellow Augies, VK4DPC from sunny Brisbane, Australia. So we've got Australia, we've got England, we've got Brazil. This is truly a world group. David Brennan, Dave, could you recommend a 49-to-1 balun with both positive and ground, around 1500 watt power handling or better? I don't know anybody that goes up that high. The place I would recommend is Balun Designs. Let's go look at their, oh, are we still on the screen? We're still on the screen. Okay, let's just go here and go to balundesign.com. And he makes super heavy duty baluns. Baluns. I guess technically it's an 9-to-1 in-fed half-wave transformers. Okay, 250 watts, 400, 800, up to kilowatt, 1.2 kilowatts, 124.95. Okay, this is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to get up there where you can see it. Okay, so you've got this right here. This is his most heavy-duty balun. You'll have to ask him what you may need to do, but this is technically an unon because it's going balanced to balanced. I'm sorry, unbalanced to unbalanced. Okay, a new transformer. This should be a 49-to-1. Okay, and three ferrites stacked. Okay. All right. So there's the other ones. Balun Designs. BALUN Designs, note the plural.com. Okay, and then go back here to where you're looking at the ones for end-fed half-wave transformers. Okay, and that's what you need, and we'll get you going really well. All right, so let's go back to the normal view and go back to where I can see this. Okay. So David Brennan, I think I've answered your question. Balun Designs. They make seriously heavy-duty baluns. And you can call them and ask if it'll handle a full 1500 watts. If it's just sideband, yes, it will. If it's Morse code, it's, you know, if it's something like PSK 31 or FT8 or something like that, it is possible that it may not handle the full 1500 watts. Okay, Roswell Chuck back in ham radio after years of inactivity. Relearning CW at 72 is tough. Let me tell you, I agree. I'm 73 and have the same problem. Azarel Diaz, hello from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Larry from Manila. We have CWNet on 7095 who run their programs 1 hour before the LSB net, which is at 11 UTC. Doug Dry, good evening, Dave, and all Augies from Doug. KD4NC. In Kennesaw, Georgia, the weather has improved greatly here. Doug is the one who is giving me service for this phone. He gave me the phone too. This is it. For those of you who haven't seen it before, this is a old-fashioned, and it's not a clone. It's the real thing. It's actually an antique phone, and well, antique's 100 years, I guess, but it's an old phone. And he gave me the little box that connects to the internet, so I can actually pick that up, dial a number, and talk to somebody. And it's just really cool. It's a lot of fun. It's a great conversation piece. Okay, life and death. CB is still my best and most distant way to hear the highway ahead is closed while there's still time to take an alternate exit. Rick Davis, hello, my first time here. Rick, hello and welcome. The purpose of this live stream, which we have about every week on Thursday evenings at 6:45 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's always that time. If we go into daylight time, we shift with daylight time and so on. So the purpose of it, this is the kind of the gathering point for the channel. I write the Ask Dave column for QST. The channel is also called Ask Dave, and you can send questions to me at askdave@arrl.org, and they come directly to me. And I will try. I can't always answer everything. Sometimes people absolutely stump me. If that's the case, I'll send a note back that I really don't know. And, you know, you'll have to do a bunch of research. The internet's a great place. Wikipedia is a lot better than it used to be. They're what do you call it, peer review. And so a lot of the junk has been taken out of there. So that's another good place to look at it. Although if you ask for something like SWR, the article on SWR should get into calculus in a big hurry. So you don't necessarily want to do that one. But I've got over 1,000, over 1,100 videos up on every subject imaginable. So take a look at them. Okay. So Azarel, thank you very much for coming and joining us. And let's see who said he was the first one. Rick Davis said, hello, my first time here. Good to have you. Hope you will continue to join us. If you have a question, you can ask it here in addition to the ARRL address. And if you want, you can just ask it right here. Okay, Leo Gustafson. Good afternoon, Dave and everyone. Checking in from Albany, Oregon. 102 in Oregon. Oh my goodness. That's hot for Oregon. Rick Davis, KV4GA. Leo Gustafson, Life and Death here in Oregon. We have the ODOT trip check site that not only shows road conditions, but on the same Oregon map, quick link icons to all of the road cameras. That's nice. Oh, wow, we've got good news here from Phoenix, JT 6188. It's cooled down in Phoenix, dropped from 113 to 112. By the way, I keep getting the errors over on the YouTube side here that it's not getting enough data. Let me know if this is freezing. I think the way it works, if it freezes, it will just put a stop button on it, and when it unfreezes, it'll pick up where it left off, but I'm not sure that it's true. Let me know if that really is true. It says, Dave, Nuance is still the leading text-to-speech PC software, but probably in the accessibility menus, every recent version of Windows should have speech to text. Works best with the headset. Yeah, Nuance. Their product is Dragon Naturally Speaking. And Nuance picked that up. And I can't remember who picked up Nuance, somebody. But yes, I've tried that. One of the problems is the technical stuff. There have been times my hands are so bad that I've done this on trips. I need to turn in my column, which I need to do this week too. I'm sort of started on it. It's for November. So I've tried it, and it makes so many technical mistakes. It just takes so long to get anything done. You can't get a sentence done without, you know, correcting it all the time. It's a little better now, I suppose. Positive train control. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's really nice to have a locomotive engineer, and that's two sets of eyes. And if that guy misses its sign or something, you're in trouble. Positive train control is where Big Brother, who is watching, can take control of your train automatically if need be and prevent an accident. Had an accident in New Jersey with one of the subway or commuter trains where the guy just raced right through the terminus, and out the other side. And of course, there wasn't any track out there for him, but it was another one of those cases where somebody blocked out or something like that. That's too many lives to trust to two eyeballs. And of course, freight train wrecks can cause havoc too, as we've seen with some of the ones where you get a big pile up of oil tankers, for example. Sometimes some of those will fall over and leak. They've had that trouble. Okay, yeah, Nuance is speech to text, but it will also do text to speech. I remember it taking something I had dictated and I had it read it back to me, and it read it back to me in my voice, which was a little on the spooky side, actually. Leo, which is probably why 11 meters for road conditions here are lacking. Optical Man Jeff's called Positive Train Control. Thank you. Larry in Manila. Remember a place in National City where they had train engines without drivers. They were remote control. They had a sign warning people of this. They certainly should. But you know, you got to ask the question, what do you do if you lose connection? Does the train stop? Does the train go automatic? What does it do? Because a stopped train in a dark tunnel is a hazard to somebody. If they lose the signals, you have to slow way down, kind of edge forward, especially in fog or dark tunnels or something like that. So you'll be able to stop if there is something on the road ahead of you. Okay, Leo, just the two of us were abouts in Montana. I was partially raised in Missoula, fondest time of my upbringing. Larry, wish we had snow here, but the locals are having problems with flooding from the typhoons. Manila always has trouble with the floodings, especially Tondo and downtown. The Philippines is actually a fairly mountainous country because it's volcanic, but there are large places for agriculture and stuff that are flat enough. And let's see, what was he saying? Snow. You get snow in Baguio. Baguio is a resort town in the mountains in mid-Luzon. I've been there. And it's about the only place in the Philippines where you need to take a coat. So, Joe Mercado, hello from Lebanon, Oregon. The thumbs up. KG0OG. None. Hi Dave, can you try and give a good intuitive explanation of transmission line transformers that makes it clear how they work? They're transformers. This is exactly what they are. So you have a magnetic core, which on RF transformers is usually in the shape of a donut. And you put windings around it. Each time the wire goes through the center of the donut counts as one turn. So when you get up to RF, you don't need lots and lots of windings to couple all the magnetic force into the toroid. So on a standard 49-to-1 balun, for example, it's a transformer. Okay, the primary has 3 windings, and the secondary has 7 times 3, 21 windings. Okay, so that, and just like any transformer in any voltage, the change in voltage is a function of the turns ratio. So if you go 3 to 21, which is a 1-to-7 ratio, that means you put 100 volts in, you get 700 volts out. Okay. Now, what happens to the current? If you put 100 volts in at 10 amps, you're going to get 70 volts out, but the current will be 1/7 of 10, which is what, 1.5, something like that, 1.5 amps. So the turns ratio is the current, the voltage ratio. The inverse of the turns ratio is the current ratio. Now, if you multiply the power, remember, E times I is the power, you've got 10 times 7 is 70. 10 times 7 is 70. And over on the other side, you still end up with the same amount of power in watts. Now, what about impedance? Okay, so if you connect a transmission line to this transformer, it's going to change the voltage and the current. Now the impedance, Z, or like R in Ohm's law, E equals IR. Now let's leave R over here, okay, and take the I to the other side. So it would be in the denominator, E over I. The ratio of the voltage to the current is the Z, or impedance. So coming in, we got 50 ohm transformer, 3 turns, fine. The turns ratio is 1-to-7. So by the time you multiply it by 7 and then divide it by 7, it's the same, multiply it by 7 and then divide it by 1/7, you get 49, 7 squared. And so the square of the turns ratio is the impedance. It takes the incoming impedance of the transmission line. The impedance of the transmission line is 50 ohms. That means that the voltage, at any point in the line, the ratio of the voltage to the current is 50. Now you put it through this transformer device and you come out the other side, and the ratio of the voltage to the current is 49 times that. Okay, half of 49 is what? 22, 26, 20, 20, 25, 50, something like that. So the ratio of the current to the voltage is like 2,200 ohms. Now, on a dipole, the lowest impedance is at the center. The highest impedance is at the end because it's the ratio of the voltage to the current. There is no current because the thing ends. There's no conductor for the current to go into. Okay, so the current just zings back and forth in there. And so you have a very high impedance at the end. So you're feeding a high impedance with a high impedance at the end, and that's how you can end feed a dipole. Okay, I hope that helps. That's how these things work. I got pictures, and I've done some videos on it, I think. Okay. JT6188 got a run. Leo, hey Joe, Albany here. Joe, hey Leo, Leo antenna. Lower Mercado German folding hex beam. Not sure what that is. Leo is still off the air until he figures out how to prevent another failure. Likes to eat paste. Just passed my tech test today. All right. And congratulations. And in a few more days, you should be able to go on the FCC website and find out what your call sign is. And I congratulate you. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to emphasize this. I'm going to hold your head in mine because I want you to look into my eyes, okay? Get on the air. Get on the air. Okay, a license does you no good if it's just tucked into your wallet. Get on the air. After all, think of it this way. An amateur radio license is a federal license to talk. How many people can you say have a federal license to talk? We do. Okay, let's see. And congratulations to you. Joe McCurry, Ice Loa Load. Okay. I'll bet that my German hex beam is better engineered than mine. Maybe. Congratulations to Paste. On the CW, on Ham told me to use dit not dot. Yes, I believe you mentioned it slows you down. Actually, you should use da. Dit. Just use the T on the end. But yeah. Evening, Dave. It's currently 89 degrees Fahrenheit, 40% in Camarillo, California. It's a very pretty area. High today was a blistering 97. Oh, my goodness. You'd almost think the world is warming up. Probably a new record for the day. Friday forecast to be hotter. That is just amazing. That's from Rick KN6UDF. GPN, Larry, you used it, and but you only used it at the end. And the earlier, okay, yeah, I just did. Joe Mercado, it just works looking at a Mag Loop 500 watt. Yeah, you can make them for that, but you've got to get really wide-spaced capacitors or they will arc. Okay, I got a few old balun, which is from W2AU. I believe they were designed for my 30 meter and 17 meter antenna. None. Have you thought about simulcasting an HFnet of some kind during these live streams? Even as just for people to chat in, maybe even JSA call. Here's the issue. I can't make money with ham radio. I do make money on the YouTube channel. So to use ham radio as a prop during a YouTube channel is a no-no. Unless I demonetize it, which I can, click of a mouse. We have tried it and it does work for me to get on the air here with some time left in the session. And we usually get a pile up very quickly. I get on 40 meters or 20 meters or something. I still haven't sent all the QSL cards out. I have given those to my assistant to please fill those out so we can get all those QSL cards out. I don't get on the air near as much as I should. Okay. None. How come everybody talks about QST but not about QEX? QEX is for a rather small group of people who don't mind the calculus. Now, QST used to be considered a technical magazine and was indexed along with other technical publications. And that's because, 40, 50 years ago, what was in QST was quite technical. How to build a 3-tube amplifier, something like that. And it was how-to, lots of how-tos in there and so on. During World War II, the League ceased publication of everything except one thing, and that was the wartime edition of the Radio Amateur Handbook. And the Radio Amateur Handbook quickly became the Bible for, like, people who were designing and building radio sets, because hams had the technical knowledge to do all of these kinds of things. Hams were very, very technical back then because it was completely common to build your own receiver or transmitter, completely common. Nowadays, people build their own antennas. I haven't had a question yet on how to properly tune an IF circuit on a super heterodyne, an old tube circuit. Well, that was something everybody knew 20 years ago, or not 20, 40 years ago. So they created this handbook, which they kept updated during the war. It was the wartime edition of the Radio Amateur's Handbook, and it was used extensively because we had to go from a small group of people who understood radio, namely some professionals, some shipboard telegraph operators, and ham radio. And from that bootstrap up to where we could design all of the equipment that was necessary to win the war. And win the war we did. And one of my hobbies is to watch old YouTube videos, read books, stuff like that on the electronic technology of World War II, both communications, signals intelligence, traffic analysis, geolocation, all that kind of stuff like that. And it is fascinating in my mind. Anyway, can't even remember what the question is. The reason we don't do that now is I wasn't getting caught up on QSL cards, but now that I'm having Tegan do that, I may give that to him as a homework assignment to take it home. I'll pay him, of course, but that way we can do more. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I did a Parks on the Air, POTA, activation, an Augie was going to be vacationing in this area, and he asked me if I wanted to join him on an activation. He was activating everything they were driving through. They were in a travel trailer is the official word. And they had that at the park just over the brow of the hill here. And so I drove a few miles to this spot in Billy Creek State Park. No. Take that back. Ridgeway State Park. Actually, if I were to go over the fence, I could activate Billy Creek State Wildlife Area. But we activated that. I had a blast. I need to get that uploaded to log book of the world in addition. I'll do that tomorrow maybe. Okay. So how come everybody talks about QST but not about QAX? Okay, the four magazines are National Contest Journal, NCJ, QEX, which is the experimenter's book, very technical. QST is the general interest publication aimed at generals and extras. And On the Air is the magazine aimed at technicians, particularly new technicians. Now, the League has a problem. The League really, I mean, until you've been in ham radio a long time, you don't know what the ARRL does for us. It's a lot. They maintain the liaison with the FAA. They review all the rules that come up. They'll raise a stink if something is weird. They'll ask us to write our congressmen and congresswomen and the FCC to lobby for this, that, or the other. They jealously guard our spectrum in a day when absolutely everybody would love to take it away from us. HF has become the in thing again. And so you've heard a lot about that. I am an ARRL member. I'm not a life member. I am a life member of IEEE, the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers. That's my professional organization. And I'm just a member. I'm nothing special. 2 patents, big deal. Lots of people have patents, but these I thought were quite interesting because they were highly mathematical. Anyway, so what? My patent and about $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Okay, so most people don't know about QEX. It's there. As an ARRL member, you have online access to all of the magazines. If you want to, you can subscribe to it in hard copy. Okay. I do because I tend to like something I can flip the pages of, but I'm probably about going to stop my print subscription to QST because it's 1, expensive, and 2, it comes out like 2 weeks after the version online comes out. The September QST is going to be online probably next week. So, not September, October. And like I said, I owe my column for the November. Okay, but QST is the main magazine that people are used to using, but you ought to check out the general interest articles in On the Air. Okay. Doug Dry says most people don't know about QAX. It's there. It's intended for advanced projects. I don't think they distribute printed copies anymore. I used to pay for a subscription. You'll have to check. I mean, everybody is trying to get out of the print world. For example, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, known to most people as the Mormon Church, of which I am a member, has a church handbook. A church handbook of general instructions. How to run the local church. I mean, it's got everything in it. And they gave up printing copies. They don't print copies anymore. If you want to know what's in the General Handbook of Instructions, and by the way, it's available to everybody. If you would like to know what's in there, you go online and you look, because it can change. Now, they do give you a little bit of a digest of changes and stuff like that, but they changed something on me that I missed and was quite surprised. I mean, it was a non-doctrinal change. It just changed the length of the main worship meeting from 70 minutes to 60. big deal, you know. It's not changing life or death. It's just a policy change. But I advocated this a long time ago. I kept saying to people at work, the policies and procedures should be online. Everybody in the company can get to them. Okay, what is online should be the master. And people kept giving me, managers kept giving me this management doublespeak that said they are both the master. They can't both be the master, because at some point they will disagree. And when they disagree, which has precedence. And so in the church, they've actually stopped printing things like Sunday school manuals and stuff like this. Go get it online. And it makes things a lot less expensive. Plus, you can keep things up to date. There's some recent updates that have got some people upset. And so I'm thinking there's going to be some movement. There will be. There almost has to be. Okay, the video quality looks good. It's occasionally freezing. Was freezing a bit, but not losing anything when it resumes. Good. Sometimes short buffer, so yes, it is freezing up from time to time. Are people still using CB radios when they travel? The simple answer is yes. A somewhat more complicated answer is CB in the United States does not have a real good reputation among amateurs. That is not true in the rest of the world. CB is a perfectly acceptable way of being a radio hobbyist. I mean, it's big in Australia, it's big in Great Britain, all these places like that. My first on-the-air experiences as a teenager were with CB. And I never got a license. Used to have to get a license. Used to have call signs, all this kind of stuff. The FCC basically gave up on CB and said, here are your channels, have at it. So, fun. Okay, let's see. The video stops, then rewinds a few seconds and starts again. I apologize for that. I only use 11 meters in my CJ. CJ is a Jeep. Okay. Dug dry. There have been a few short freezes here. My internet. Oops. Oh, here we go. My internet instrumentation looks clear, so I assumed it was caused by Starlink uplead speed. Yes. They are very short blips. Okay, very good. RS says, yes, your live stream is freezing up periodically. Hi, Dave and all Augies from Hastings, Minnesota, late to the party. Well, welcome. And we're almost done. Optical Man Jeff has added $15 to the chat revenue. Thank you very much. It makes a difference. I pay Tegan enough money that I won't lose him to McDonald's. You know, and he's good. He's very good at learning to edit. He's extremely thorough and very careful. And I review the videos before they go up. One of these days, I'll raise his salary again and said, send him up. If there's a problem, we'll just take it down and reload. Okay, but right now we're just doing a review. He's about there. He's about there. He's good. And like I said, I have to pay him more than McDonald's pays. Okay. Up north in Ilocos Norte, they had a super large swimming pool from the rain. The typhoon has left the Philippines but reformed into a super typhoon and is headed to China. Oh, gosh. Optical Man Jeff says, thanks, Dave, for all your wisdom and being friends to all of us here, and adds $15 to that. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate that. Dave, Ray, transmission line transformers. I meant those that are typically a small piece of coax wrapped a couple terms, used in LD MOS amps for impedance matching, does not use flux coupling. Okay. Small piece of coax, wrapped couple terms used in LD MOS amps for impedance matching. Usually a coax wrap like that is designed to obstruct currents on the outside of the coax. So it's not impedance matching per se, but rather a way of keeping the common mode out of the equation. Okay, and a small piece of coax wrapped in a couple turns for impedance matching. I guess I'm missing what you're telling me. If it's the same piece of coax that just happens to be or wound around itself a couple of times, that's what's called a choke balun. And having 2 or 3 turns do the job probably means we're talking microwave or something like that. Okay, well, send me a picture of that if you would. KE0OG says, congrats on getting your tech. Paste, did you get your call yet? Well, he just passed today. It'll maybe by next week. Leo Gustafson sends $10. Says, thank you, Dave, for sharing your knowledge, help, and friendship. Thank you very much. Had a ship's master who was also had a ham license, but expired. He asked me if he can still get it renewed. If the grace period, which is 2 years, is expired, he can pass his technician, and then he'll give him back either his general or extra. They don't give back advanced anymore because they're not issuing any of those. Okay, we are out of time. I want to say to all of you, thank you. You are the channel. You are the Augies, the supporters of this, the reason that this channel exists. I love you guys. Thank you. And thank you for your continuing support. And until we next meet, 73.